Okay, welcome back to Mario Kart World. In this video, I want to go over 5 things which I personally would like to see added to the game. Now, that's not to say that I think they will be, or that I think they need to add this right now, or anything like that. This is basically just 5 things which I would like to see added at some point. You know, just, it would be quite cool, I think it's fair to say. So, let's get into them. First of all, I'd like to see some new tracks. I think this is something which pretty much everyone would agree with. Now, this isn't something that I think is needed immediately by any means, because I always hear this thing said there's like over like 200 connecting routes, you know, for like different track routes that you can do, and then you've got like 31 different tracks or something, I think, actually in the game, and I think that's great. And obviously you've got the open world thing, which makes it a lot harder to actually introduce new tracks. I've discussed in a previous video how I'm not entirely sure how they might go about introducing new tracks to the game or anything like that. Would they add a DLC where it's a new world, or would they add a DLC where they sort of expand the current map and then it's locked behind the DLC so that people who don't have it don't have that part of the map? I don't really know. What I do know, though, is that, yeah, I'd really quite like to see some new tracks. Not because I'm bored of the current tracks. I think the tracks that they have got in the base game are honestly some of the best Mario Kart tracks I've played. And I say that as a big fan of Mario Kart Wii and someone who has always said if I was to get a Mario Kart game, which was Mario Kart Wii's tracks, just with updated mechanics, updated graphics and everything, it would probably be my favourite game. There are a few Mario Kart Wii tracks in this game, or tracks that were in Mario Kart Wii, but for the most part, you know, there's some newer tracks, some retakes on old classics, I suppose you could say. But yeah, I would love to see some newer tracks in the game. Whether that, again, be completely new ideas and tracks, or whether that be, like, again, new takes on old ideas, I suppose, because I'll say it, I'm a big fan of Maple Treeway. Maple Treeway is my favourite track in Mario Kart history. It's from Mario Kart Wii, it was in Mario Kart 7, and then it also got added to Mario Kart 8. I think it was on the mobile version. It's pretty much been in every Mario Kart game since Mario Kart Wii, and in my opinion, that's because it's the best track of all time. I admit I am entirely biased for saying it. It is by far my favourite track, and I know I'm biased for saying that. But that said, I would love to see a lot of tracks added. And again, I don't think this is something which needs to be done anytime soon. Let's say in a year's time, by which I mean a year from when it was released, so June, it's technically 11 months from when I'm recording this. I think it'd be nice to start seeing, you know, some DLC and some stuff added to the game, or even if it's not even DLC. Now, I highly doubt Nintendo would actually release some new tracks entirely for free, but it would be quite cool. I think you'd all agree. But yeah, in terms of how they go about it, I don't really mind whether it's like the new tracks aren't really involved in the open world. They're just new tracks that you can play and everything, and that'd be kind of cool. Either way, like I say, I think it'd just be a really cool addition to have some new tracks. And yeah, that's all I've really got to say on this thing that I want added, because I think it's something that pretty much everyone would say at this point. Everyone wants new tracks because it's just something different, realistically. Anyway, the next thing I would like to see added, or I think in this case changed, it's not really an addition, is the changing of the item balancing. So I made a video where I ranked on a tier list the items within Mario Kart World. And I think for the most part, the balancing in this game isn't too bad. I think that the shells and everything, they're a bit more forgiving in that when you get hit in this game, it's sort of like the initial impact is a lot worse than it has been in previous games, but it feels like the recovery time is a lot quicker, if that makes sense. In that you kind of keep some momentum. You don't come to an entire halt, I wouldn't say, when you get hit by an item, except for by the lightning, which is why I think it's such a good item in this game, is that the lightning bolt actually brings you to like seemingly like a complete halt and shrinks you, and then you grow back way quicker than you ever previously did, but that initial impact is insane. So yeah, basically what I want from changing the item balancing is kind of just, particularly when you're in, say, 10th to 15th, I think is where I would say it's the most problematic, is that obviously with more cars on track, they had to change the item balancing somewhat, right? They need more items than ever, and they need to work out who gets what and in what position. I mean, obviously, I think items are actually distributed based off of how far off of first place you are, I want to say, rather than being based upon what position you're in. But way too often, I in, say, 10th to, 15th is where I'm using as a general idea. And the item I get is either a boomerang or that, like, question mark block of coins, and my word, I mean, even the golden shell, which is an okay item, but, like, just those three, it's just frustrating to get those items, because with the golden shell, it's like, it's okay, it'll take some people out, but it doesn't necessarily hit anyone, it'll just distribute some coins along the track that not even you are guaranteed to get. Some other players might get them, and so if anything, you're kind of helping people in front of you, and that to me just seems a little bit like, well, what's the point? Same with the coin block, where you get, I don't know how many coins it is, I want to say 9, but I have no idea if that's how many it is. You hit the coin block several times, and it also distributes coins behind you, meaning that you're helping people out behind you, and that, again, it just seems a bit weird to kind of want that in any sort of situation. I think it serves its purpose. I think I sound very critical of these items. I think they have their uses. It's just, I personally don't want to get them if I'm in 15th, because if I'm in 15th and someone in 16th has like a golden mushroom, and what I have is a few coins in a block, it just seems a bit frustrating, I think it's fair to say. Yeah, I'd just like to see a few changes, a few tweaks to how the items are actually distributed, because I think it would help the game a lot if they could do that. And it would help make races more exciting, I feel like, because sometimes you can kind of be just stuck in the middle of the pack and never really escape it, because you never get an item that will truly be allowed... I can't get my words out. You never get an item that will allow you to basically go and split from that middle pack and kind of get up front. And you don't get an item that... Well, you don't get hit by items. It will send you so far back that you can get such a good item to be able to move forward, and it's kind of just like you're stuck in a rut once you're stuck in, like, again, that mid-pack of, say, 8th to maybe 18th, we'll say. And yeah, it can be quite frustrating. Anyway, enough on the item balancing. The next thing I would like to discuss is I would like to see more options online. I've discussed this again in previous videos, and so I'm not going to go too much into detail on this because I've rambled about this like hell, but the long and short of what I want is that I think online it is fine that they are making it so that you do a lot of intermission tracks, right, where you're driving from one track to another. I have said this several times. However, I think people should have the option, if they want to play a traditional Mario Kart race where you are doing 3 laps or whatever, however many laps it is, right? You should be allowed to do a traditional race, because that's kind of why people love Mario Kart, play Mario Kart, is because of the fact it's simple, right? It's like a nice, easy thing. The pacing of it's there. Everything about it is just great. And then without that option, you're kind of going online, wanting to play a race, and not really getting the experience you want. And to me, that's like, yeah, that's why I'm starting to find myself again playing more and more knockouts online, which I will say is something which is growing on me. But at the same time, I think that is also something which is entirely intentional by Nintendo. I think they want people to play Knockouts all because that's kind of what they've probably spent more time on. They've spent so much time making this open world, but why would they only want to show off the courses that they've made? They want to show off the entire world, and where do you get to see the entire world? In Knockouts all. And that brings me on to my next point, which is number 4. And the 4th thing I would like to see added is a custom Knockouts all. So, this isn't so much... I don't really know how to explain it, because by custom, all I really mean is that at the moment there is, what, like 8 different knockout tours? And you're pretty much driving the same tracks over and over again. And considering the fact that, again, there's supposed to be 200 different connecting routes or whatever it is, you're kind of not getting to see every single track, right? You're kind of not getting to go on all these different routes in Knockout Tour. So in Knockout Tour, I feel like there should be an option where pretty much, I think it's, I mean, how many stages is it in Knockout Tour? Is it like 6 different stages? It should be that just, it starts on any random course, and then it connects to another one, and then another one, and another one, again, up till 6. And it doesn't really matter what shape it ends up making, or if it goes back on itself, if it looks like a weird shape or anything like that. The fact is, it's there in the game, so why not utilize it? You know, just because of the fact you want to kind of show off all the different terrains, right, in Knockout Tour, because I think that's one of the appeals of the different Knockout Tours, is that some of them you might start in the snowy region and then work your way down towards the bottom of the map, or maybe you start in the lava-y region and come down towards the desert, or anything like that, right? I understand the appeal of that, and I understand why they've done it like that, but I think there should be more, right? And in making more, you're actually not needing to change a whole lot. You're literally just having to press a few buttons, I would imagine, just to say, okay, so you drive to this track, then this track, and then this track. So you can already kind of do a custom Knockout Tour, I feel like, anyway, in Versus Race. I don't think I've ever actually tried this, but, like, where you would pick several races in a row. I mean, you don't get knocked out, so therefore it's not Knockout Tour, but, like, where you do several different intermissions leading from each other, so that you kind of just feel like you're driving from one track to another, right? So that's kind of the extent of what I would want from custom Knockout Tour, is simply just more different routes and everything like that, because I think it'd be cool. And then the final thing I would like to see added is something which is, I would say, almost entirely arbitrary, because I think in this game, I think it's the most balanced Mario Kart game in terms of characters for a long time. In the, I mean, right, maybe it's because I'm not paying enough attention to what the meta is, but to my knowledge, the carts on the bikes, or whatever you want to call them, the quads, all the different things they have, the vehicle, right, is kind of the more important thing than the character for the most part, right? The different, and again, they all have like different things that they are suited to, but basically, what I'm noticing is that online, and originally it seemed like a lot of people were using lightweight characters, now it just seems like I just see any selection of characters, and you can kind of just play as whoever you want. That's kind of what I'm doing. I don't really have a character at this point who I play as a lot, or who I see as like my main character, and I think that's a good thing. I like the fact that I'm playing as different characters and everything like that, and so why not just add more? Again, I think this is something where, like with new tracks, considering the fact that they did it with Mario Kart 8, I think it's fair to say that at some point they'll probably think about adding a DLC where they add new tracks, some new characters, etc. Right? I don't think that's beyond the realms of possibility. But I think it's worth mentioning that I would like to see this, because I think, again, there's a lot of cool characters who still aren't actually in the game, namely Funky Kong. But still, yeah, there's a lot of different characters who aren't in there. You know, you got the Koopa Kids, who I know people are fans of. I can't say I particularly care about their absence, but you know, that's me. I'm not gonna get into an argument about that. That's just my personal opinion. And I think there's a lot of other cool characters that just aren't in the game, but could be, and it would be cool to have them in. Because again, I think the idea of the NPC characters that they have, right, where you can play as like Goomba and all these new characters, is cool, but then it feels as though there's just certain characters who have missed out to, I don't know, Monty Mole, and that's like, why? But either way, like I say, I'm not criticizing the character choices at all, because I am a big fan of the cow, or Moo Moo, big Moo Moo fan, but ultimately, like I say, I think there could be, I suppose, more interesting characters or more big name characters than what there currently is. So anyway, yeah, those are the 5 things I would like to see added to the game, and me briefly explaining why. I say briefly, I don't really know how brief this video's ended up being. I've ended up yapping for about 15 minutes, so in the end, probably about right, actually. So yeah, let me know in the comments anything you would like to see added to the game or anything like that. Or if you agree with any of my points or want to add anything to my points, or maybe you disagree with some of my points. Anything like that, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you for another video next week.